Alright, good news, bad news, folks. So the good news is that the Pytheas sensor pod is, as far as I can tell, done. Is it in its fully assembled state, fully assembled inside the pod. I've been testing it almost non-stop, and all the tests are doing exactly what I expect them to do. Over here, I even have the control unit all imaged, have some control software put on, make things nice and easy. But, as for all intents and purposes, this thing is ready to go in the bathtub and actually be tested under the water. Or at least that's what I thought. So I was going through some final tests with the control unit. Things were going well for a few minutes, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the connection just died. Just completely dropped out of nowhere. And then a few minutes later, it came back and went for a minute or so, and then dropped again. And it just kept going up and down, really intermittent. At first, I was really worried that the Ethernet line that's going to be part of the tether, this big 150-foot Ethernet cord, I worried that was the problem because I kind of modified it myself. If you can see in there, that twisted cable, or series of twisted cables, that is my hand-stripped, hand-crimped connector going into the network connector on the Pi. I've never been very good at crimping cables, so I thought that was the obvious point of failure. And I was really worried I was going to have to open this up, take it apart, and recrimp the connection, and then repot this watertight through hole and all that stuff. I was worried it was going to be a big pain. But then I grabbed a known good cable out of my little parts locker here, my highly sophisticated and well organized parts locker. But I grabbed a known good cable. I wedged it into the Ethernet connector there, wedged it onto the control laptop. And long story short, I was still getting problems. That same intermittent up and down. So, okay, at least it's not the really annoying cable that I have to replace. Then I worried that maybe it was something wrong with the Pi, but the Pi was connected over Wi-Fi the entire time, and I was able to SSH to it over Wi-Fi with no issues whatsoever. So the Pi seems fine, but I went through, I checked its network config, make sure the Ethernet card was configured correctly, all that good stuff. Everything checked out. So then I moved on to the control unit. I checked its Ethernet configuration, made sure that was all set up the way it was supposed to be set up, and that the connection, or that the settings were persistent and all that good stuff. Checked all that out. That was good. So then I decided, why don't I take that known good cable and patch it from the control unit just to my general network switch for my, just my regular LAN. So I did that, and the connection, well, no, to be honest, the connection wouldn't initiate at all. So that got me thinking, I'm pretty sure that the NIC inside the control laptop is dying and or dead. That's not that surprising. This is just like an old, like 5, 6, 7-year-old laptop, and I think it was like a cheaper budget laptop when we got it anyway. Like, I specifically chose this one because it was a clunker that we just had laying around, because I didn't want to be too upset if it got damaged on the boat, so I picked something cheap. So it doesn't surprise me that much that the Ethernet card, the NIC, is dying. I went ahead, hopped on the Best Buy, ordered a USB NIC to replace it. So once that comes in, hopefully that'll resolve the issues. But all of this to say, the bad news is I don't think Pytheas is going to have a bathtub test today, which is a little disappointing. I was really hoping I was going to be able to get it into the water and film it and, you know, give it its first real test as a completed unit. But it looks like that's just going to have to wait for just a little while longer. So, not that big a deal, but is what it is. So instead, I thought I'd make this video and at least kind of show off, you know, how this is all put together in its final form. I guess we'll start with the end cap over here. So this is the main end cap that everything's being plugged into. I bought this from bluerobotics.com. This whole enclosure, the end caps, all these little specialized bolts and everything. This guy over here that says OK, that is an unscrewable vent, and that's so that when I am like pulling the caps on and off, it's an airtight seal, so you could easily get, you know, too much pressure inside or a vacuum inside, and that can make getting the end caps on and off kind of difficult. So they included this vent, so you can just unscrew the vent and kind of, you know, break that airtight seal so that you can get the end caps on and off without having to fight it. The through hole here, that's basically literally just a bolt that's hollow. So you were able to run a cable through, and, you know, there's the back of it. You can kind of see, you know, just run the cable through, and then we just fill it up with marine epoxy to make it watertight. This guy here, that's actually the pressure temperature sensor. You guys have seen that before. And if you look on the back, you can see the cables for it kind of snaking around and all around. I've never been good at cable management, but ultimately it's all wired into the Pi there. And then those last two bolts are just blanks because the end cap came with 5 holes. It was the smallest amount of holes they had, so just fill the other two with blanks. Inside these bolts are a series of O-rings on all of them, just to make the seal nice and tight. And then you can kind of see, lighting change. You can kind of see through the tube, the plastic tray that everything's mounted on. And ended up being really nice, really helpful. It came with pre-drilled holes for the Pi, so I was able to screw that right in. The other components, like the MOSFET trigger there, and the LED light, which, oh yeah, I guess that was a light bulb the last time you guys saw it. The light bulb just came apart, and I was able to just pull the bare board out to make it fit. But long story short, that stuff, you can see I just used hot glue. Same with the MOSFET trigger, just hot glue to stick it to the board, because I couldn't really find proper bolts and risers for them. So I went low-tech with it. The camera is mounted. I hot glued a little foam block. I have the other half here. Just a little foam block. I hot glued it to the side of the enclosure, or the side of the tray, and then just glued the camera on top of it. You know, make a nice little shelf, and then it just plugs right into the Pi, nice and easy. You can see I put a thumb drive on there. That's just because SD cards are not super duper reliable in my experience. I did not want the card to crap out on me in the middle of a lake and then lose whatever data I had. So I redid the PCS software to just save all the pictures and all the log data to that thumb drive instead. Because they're, like I said, just in my experience, a little more reliable. Not to mention the fact that thumb drive has 64 gigs, whereas the SD card I have in there is only, I think it was 16. So that's all set up nice. And then we have all the GPIO connections. I think we've gone over that before, but yeah, that's pretty much it. The other end cap is just a blank cap just to complete the seal, but you can kind of see through the glass like all the O-rings. There's 2 O-rings on the tube on each side, and then a third O-ring inside the cap itself to kind of seal this connection around the rim. There's a third O-ring in there for that, and same thing on this side. So it seems pretty watertight. I'm fairly confident this is going to work well once we get in the water. It's just like I said, the Surface controller decided to crap out on me. So once we get that new NIC in, we will get this in the water and see how it performs.